Hello.
Good morning, Mr. Wakeman.
Oh, good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you. I'm Tony Gonzalez from This is Rock, Spain.
Brilliant. Thank you, sir.
Yes, are you ready for the interview?
I am indeed, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Let me start this interview telling you that I saw you in concert in 2005 in La Habana when you were in Cuba.
Wow. I remember that.
Yes, I saw two concerts and the next day in an open air place in front of the sea.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yes. So tell me, what do you remember from these concerts? If
I remember it, just a fantastic setting for a concert. Just really lovely. Great audience. Really lovely people. It was just a very, very enjoyable concert.
and now I remember this also because in your recording for 2023 called A Gallery of the Imagination,
Yeah.
you recorded a song called Cuban Carnival.
Yes.
Yes, tell me, do you still remember your Caribbean tour?
I certainly do. It was one of the most memorable times I ever had with a band and on the road. It was absolutely phenomenal. It was when I was in Cuba, I asked if I could see and hear some Cuban music, and they managed to organize for me all throughout the days as well as the evenings when I wasn't working. I saw 41 different bands and Cuban musicians play.
And as long as I remember, Cuban Carnival is Cuban Carnival the first song that you write with some Caribbean rhythms?
Yes, it is, really, yeah. Yes, it is, I think, yes. I have done music with Latin American rhythms and things before, but this was specifically written with the Cuban rhythms in mind.
By the way, the cover of the CD, A Gallery of the Imagination,
Yeah.
remind us the cover of the Emerson, Lake and Palmer classic called Picture at an Exhibition.
Not really. The pictures of an exhibition, they've got pictures and things on it. There's about at least 12 album covers using paintings as part of the cover. So it's nothing new. As I say, there's a lot of albums that have those covers.
The reason why we are here is because you will release a 4 CD box set, including the concerts at the Palladium in London, that you play in February 2023. Tell me, what can we find here?
Well, it's quite interesting because I did not know they were recording the concert, which actually is very good because I think sometimes if you're aware that there's going to be a recording, it can make you a little bit nervous and you're frightened of making any bad mistakes or terrible errors. But the concert was actually the idea of my manager to do three of the albums from the 70s, and also to add a Yes set in, because I do play some Yes music sometimes, but not like Yes. I do it in my own way. And so we recorded the 2 nights at the London Palladium without me knowing. When I heard it, I was so impressed, and the band played magnificently. And one of the things that's really good is that I talked to my engineer about it, and he said, look, there are 1 or 2 little mistakes that people made. It's going to happen when you have like nearly over 4 hours worth of music. He said, but I don't want to get the musicians in and correct it. He said, because the atmosphere is so fantastic, and only somebody who knows every single note would know that something has happened. He said, and I think that creates much more of an atmosphere, and I thoroughly agree with him. And I'm so pleased with it, and I'm so glad that I didn't know they were recording it. it's probably, I've been involved in a few live albums in my time, including with Yes, and with Straws, and with myself. This is far and away the best. It is. I'm very proud of it.
I'm sure that perfection doesn't exist, even when you try to reach the perfection.
Oh, you're absolutely right. It's. I think feeling and atmosphere and is probably the most important. I don't think there is. You're quite right. I don't think there is any such thing as perfection, because how would you define perfection? You're absolutely right.
So as long as I remember, I read that the scores of Journey to the Center of the Earth and King Arthur were lost in the 80s and found in 2009. Tell me.
That's quite correct. They were lost. They were lost at the beginning of the 1980s, but they turned up in a pile of music that was just sent to me, and it was the conductor who conducted the original Journey, a man called David Measham. He had died, and somebody had gone through a lot of his records, and they'd found it, and they sent it to me in terrible condition. But we managed to get everything off of it that we needed. Yeah, so that was quite an exciting moment when that appeared.
In this period of time between the 80s and 2009, you didn't play any song of these recordings?
Well, we played some songs, but we couldn't play the orchestral versions and things. We couldn't do it as per the original, because the parts didn't exist for the orchestra. So yes, we did play, but we didn't ever do a performance with a band and an orchestra at all. You're quite right. Nothing was done until the music was found.
In the 70s, the critics pointed that Journey to the Center of the Earth was the very first time that a mix between a rock band and an orchestra was done. However, Concerto for a Group and Orchestra from Deep Purple was released in 1969. Were you inspired by Deep Purple to create Journey to the Center of the Earth?
No, not at all. There's been lots of band and orchestra, a lot of that over the years. The late John Lord was one of my very, very, very best friends. And I loved everything that John did, both with Deep Purple and on his own. But I'm not somebody who is influenced by what somebody else does. And in fact, if you listen to the recordings, they couldn't be more different as in style.
The Deep Purple is a mix that is not exactly a mix, but you are more mixed.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I wanted to do, which I felt wasn't really done before, which is make the band almost part of the orchestra, as against a band with an orchestra accompanying it. So that's really what I was trying to do.
For Journey to the Center of the Earth, you were inspired by Jules Verne.
Yeah.
And for 1984, you were inspired by George Orwell. And just thinking about the King Arthur recording, were you inspired by a book, or were different sources of inspiration?
I'm always inspired by books. I read a lot, especially historical books and biographies, and certainly some of the albums I've done. The Six Wives of Henry VIII was inspired by many books that I read about Tudor England. Journey, you're quite right, was inspired by Jules Verne, who was a wonderful writer. And the same with 1984, which I did. George Orwell, and you're quite. I mean, I'm inspired by books. I mean, I'm inspired by what's around me, and that includes books. That includes when I visit towns or cities or places. I often come away with ideas and thoughts. So, and sometimes with something, it may be more than one book or more than one place that inspires me. I don't deliberately go out to be inspired, but I'm lucky enough to go to places, read books, and meet people who do inspire me.
I was born in 1961, and I remember when I was a young boy, Jules Verne was literature for kids or for teenagers, mostly than from adults. And my question is, were you a young reader? Did you read books since you were a teenager?
I'm sorry, yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm avid reader. In fact, I'm talking to you now sitting in the library in my house where there's probably 2,000-3,000 books.
Perfect.
I love books. I think it's interesting that that books still are very popular. A lot of people, including myself, were worried that when all digital formats of books and things started to appear, would that be the end of books? And it certainly hasn't. They're as popular as ever. There is nothing better than having a book and reading it from start to finish, or looking at it for reference, or having it around. It's much better than looking at the words on a screen.
And did you find the inspiration in Journey to the Center of the Earth before being a musician, for example?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've always really been a musician since I was 5, but you're right about Journey to the Center of the Earth. I read that book when I was 14 years old. And I read that book and I just thought it was so musical. And I even though I was only 14, I very clearly said to myself, if I ever get the chance to write some music where there's a story, this is the story I would like to do.
I studied history at the university, and let me confess you that I was more interested in British history because of your music.
Oh, that's kind. That's very kind. Thank you. It's British history is quite fascinating because so many of the buildings and so many records still remain from those periods. So you can also actually visit those places as well. In fact, I've you talk about going to places and things to do with albums. One of the things that I've not done, but which I really, really, really want to do, is to do Journey to the Center of the Earth. I would like to play it in Iceland, maybe in Reykjavik near Mount Snæfell, the mountain. And I'd like to play another concert of Journey to the Center of the Earth near Mount Etna in Sicily, which is where the story finishes. That's something I've always wanted to do, but it's a matter of finding a promoter who's willing to do it.
I hope you do it, okay?
Thank you, I do too, thank you.
For example, I will never remember the wife of Henry VIII if it weren't by you. Yes.
Yeah, you know, a few people have said that over the years. That's kind. Thank you.
So in 2002, you released Songs of Middle Earth, inspired by The Lord of the Rings by Tolkien. Yep. And apart from Jules Verne, do you take inspiration only on books written by British writers?
Now that's an interesting one, the Middle Earth one, because what happened was they made a television documentary, and they actually used music of mine that was taken from some other albums. So I didn't write it specifically for. They took the music from other albums, gave them new titles and put them on. Mm-hmm. I think they worked pretty well. Whether I would have actually written something different, if they'd have asked me to do something specifically, then I think it might have been a little different. But I think they got it very, very well.
I have just read that you will be embarking on a tour of the US with a series of solo piano concerts for the last time in 2024. What does last time means?
It's basically the tour. I've been doing a lot of one-man shows. I use a piano and some keyboards, but I'm 75 years old this year, and I have so much more music that I want to make and to write and to do, and it really means that I need to just slowly cut down on the amount of touring that I do in order to do this. And the American tours, I've done a lot of American tours in the last few years, so I've decided that this year and next year I'll be winding them down. So they'll be the last of the one-man shows over there. I want to do the one-man shows in other countries that want them, but it is certainly a winding down so I can do all the other projects that I want to do.
A one-man show, piano and keyboards.
Yep, that's it.
And tell me, Rick, I read that you, some years ago, maybe 20, that you prefer analogic keyboards over digital keyboards. Do you still prefer analogic keyboards?
That's a very good question. I mean, I'm happiest. I'm happy really as long as I'm playing and doing keyboards. I mean, I have some lovely electronic keyboards which I enjoy playing. I have 3 pianos in my house, and which is lovely because I can be playing on one, walk to another room and sit down and play another one. It's lovely. I think if I could only have one keyboard instrument, it would be the piano.
And tell me, for these concerts that you did at the London Palladium, how many keyboards did you use?
I used, including what we call rack mounts and other. There was a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15, 16 sound sources. There were actually 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. There were 10 keyboards and another 6 sound sources.
Wow. After 50 years or little more than you released Journey to the Center of the Earth, don't you feel blessed that this recording is still one of the favorite and you still play and a lot of people enjoy it?
Absolutely. I mean, when I did it in 1974, if somebody had said I'd be on the telephone talking to you now about the album and about the concerts, I probably would have laughed. Because I just didn't. You just don't think that something can last that long or the music can last that long. I mean, I didn't think I'd still be playing when I was 75. I hope I'm still playing when I'm 95. Because it's just such a wonderful thing to be able to do, and it's wonderful that people have been so kind as to like the music and want to hear it.
I am one of these people that I would like to hear every 2 or 3 months.
You're very kind. Thank you very much.
Yes. Let me confess you that for this interview, I took the re-recordings that you did more recently.
Yes.
And even when I consider that the original recording is still magical, the new recording were really good and extended. And for example, in case of King Arthur, I consider that the material adds more to the story. Why did you decide to re-recording both CDs?
Well, I re-recorded them for somebody you mentioned earlier, John Lord. John Lord and I were great friends, and shortly before John died, we talked about making an album and everything together. And then when he was diagnosed with his cancer, he said to me he was trying very hard to put all his music in order before he died. And he said, it's so important that you do that. And he said, is all your music as it was meant to be? And I said, well, no, John. I mean, I said, for example, Journey to the Center of the Earth was meant to be 60 minutes, but you couldn't put 60 minutes on a vinyl album. So it was reduced down to 38 minutes, I think it was, in order to make it fit. I said, there are songs missing, music missing, all sorts. And he said, well, you must do it. He said, now that you can do a version as long as it's meant to be, do it. And he said, what about King Arthur? And I said, well, that was the same. There were other songs and things that we couldn't fit on because what you could fit on an album. And when John died, I vowed that I would then put those right, and that's what I did. I recorded Journey in the studio, but put in the music that was missing, and the same with King Arthur. So that's the reason they were both done, and really that is very much thanks to John Lord.
It's really, really interesting. So you must imagine that I'm very fan of Deep Purple and John Lord also.
Yes? Oh, me too. I mean, I love Deep Purple. One of my favorite albums still to this day is Shades of Deep Purple, which was made in 1968, and that was the original band with Richie Blackmore, John obviously, Ian Pace, Nick Simper, and Rod Evans. That was the original band, and I'm still one of my dearest friends is Ian Pace.
Very nice, very nice. Yes, I saw that you create your own label, Pledge Music, and later Fragile Records. Why did you take that decision?
Well, Fragile Records is not mine. That belongs to my manager.
Oh.
I did put some... I mean, a lot of us decided to form our own labels because it was difficult to find existing labels that wanted to release new music and what you wanted to do. So that's really why a lot of those were formed. It's the record industry is so different now to as it was, and it's very hard to find record labels who are willing to release the music. And most of it they want to do is streaming. But I'm old school. I like to hold an album in my hand or a CD and read the covers and look at everything and read information about it all. Which you can't get from streaming.
Yes, in 2016, you published a book called Grumpy Old Rock Star and Other Wondrous Stories.
Yeah.
I think that, was it related to the TV show called Grumpy Old Men and Countdown?
It was to some extent. I mean, the Grumpy Old Men on TV and it was huge. It was massive, and I was lucky enough to be in every single program. And people started calling me a grumpy old rock star. And then a publisher came and said, write a book. So I did the two books, Grumpy Old Rock Star and Further Adventures of a Grumpy Old Rock Star. And they were hugely successful. And in fact, so much so that I've been asked to do another one for the end of this year, for Christmas.
And your Saturday morning radio show on Planet Rock had a rate of almost 5 million listeners worldwide. And
yeah, it was massive. It was huge. But then the radio station was sold, and the people who took it over decided that they wanted to reduce it a lot, and so after 5 years they dropped the program, which was a great shame because it was so much fun to do.
You have been also a good interviewer, and when you interview another musician, what do you think is the key to get a good interview?
I think the key is, to a lot of extent, what you have just done, because I think it should be a conversation more than just straight. It should be a conversation where you talk to each other and that's where the best information comes out. And I think that is the key. Make an interview a conversation, and that's how it should work.
Let me tell you that I check another interviews that there are on YouTube with you, because I don't want to ask you the same question one and another. And I saw an interview on YouTube when you were 58, and you declared that you were still looking forward to lots of things that you want to do, and you're still aiming to do lot of new things.
I have a huge list of things I want to do.
Yes, even with 74?
Oh, absolutely. I think I probably have enough things I'd like to do that would at least keep me working and writing music and enjoying myself till I'm, if I can live that long, about 95.
Yes. So you are an example to me. Yes.
I'm what, sorry?
That you are a good example to follow. Yes.
Well, life is to enjoy, and if I've been very lucky enough to have been given the gift of music, and I don't want to waste any time by not using it.
But some days ago, I had a conversation with a film director.
Yes.
And he told me that he is 62. He considered defeated. I said, yes, I'm 62, and now I think that I am in my best time.
Absolutely. I mean, age is purely something on paper. Age covers a lot of things. It covers your health. It covers your experience in life. And it is also about what is still left in your life to do. So I don't think, I know, I mean, I'm 75 this year, but who cares? I've still got lots of things to do. And I do realize that I'm not going to be here in 50 years' time. But I'm going to squeeze in as much as I can before.
What kind of music do you enjoy the most?
I listen to all sorts of music, a wide selection. I mean, I have 6 children who are aged from 40 to 60 years old. 40 to 55 years old. Mm-hmm. I have 13 grandchildren, ranging from 2 years old to 19 years old. So they throw lots of different music at me to listen to. I mean, I enjoy listening to music. I enjoy what is happening. But nothing has really changed. I mean, I think music is one. There is no rules and regulations. Sometimes I can hear a piece of music and go, I don't like that. I can't tell you why I don't like it. I just don't like it. And I'll hear something and I go, oh, I really like that. And my wife or one of my children might say, why do you like that? And I go, I don't know. I just like it. That's the great thing about music. It's so diverse that you can. There's so much for people to like and to listen to.
Yes, when you were young, you make some recordings for Black Sabbath and another musician. And tell me, now, do you still would like to participate as a session musician with another bands?
Yeah, I mean, I do occasionally. I get asked to play on a recording or play on a track, and I love doing that. Yeah, I mean, I do love, working and playing with other musicians. I do enjoy that. But it's a lot of it's down to finding the time to do it.
I remember that some months ago, I interviewed a musician called Arjen Anthony Lucassen.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know who is he. He said that you don't know who is he. Do you know who is he?
Sorry?
Do you know who is Arjen Anthony Lucassen?
Yeah.
Yes? Yes. And I ask you because he confessed me that his dream is collaborate with you. Yes.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yes.
That's it. I've collaborated with lots of different people. I mean, and it's amazing the things that I get asked. I mean, I've collaborated with some wonderful people over the years. I've been very lucky. I mean, Brian May, I've worked with. Obviously, Black Sabbath, as you mentioned, Ozzy Osbourne. I mean, lots of different people, and it's been really enjoyable. I mean, I when I look back on some of the things that I've been lucky enough to do, I need to sit down because you go, how did I do all that? But it's great. I mean, I'm always happy to work with people. I enjoy that.
Are you the kind of musician that consider that must be retired at some age, or you think that you are going to die on the stage?
I don't want to die on the stage, but I will always continue to play. I'll always play. I mean, retire and not do anything or not do any music or no, I couldn't do that. I will always play. I will, as I mentioned at the beginning when we started talking, I will cut down. I mean, I won't do 100 or so shows a year, which I've been doing. I will cut that right back. So because I want to do more writing. There's other projects that I want to do, which mean that I need to be at home writing and then recording. So my live performances will get less and less and less over the next few years.
And I think that playing music, remember the music, and writing new music helps the brain to keep fit.
I agree. I agree. I mean, an active brain. I absolutely agree with you. My brain. I worry about my brain sometimes because it comes up with so many unbelievably ridiculous ideas. So hopefully that'll continue to do that. I mean, the day when I can't think what I might be doing is the time when I would really worry, because I don't ever have a day which is not busy where I don't have things to do.
It's the same to me, Rick. So
Good for you.
Yes. For example, being in a bar, sitting for hours, drinking a beer is not an idea that fit in my mind.
No, not mine.
No,
yeah, absolutely.
Maybe 1 hour, one beer, but
yeah, that's it.
But not every day.
Got it. You got it.
Mr. Wakeman, that was basically...
Call me Rick, by the way, not Mr. Wakeman.
Rick, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I say Mr. Wakeman because to me it's elegant, but Rick, to me you will be always Rick. I was maybe 12, 13 years old when I discovered your music.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and since this, then I was living in Cuba, and some recordings that you made, I couldn't play, but after visiting Cuba, for any circumstance, or maybe because you were there, I could get more recordings that you wrote in the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah, thank you.
But now my last question is, taking account that it has passed a lot of years, was there a moment that you hate the success of Journey to the Center of the Earth?
Gosh, that's a good question. I think when I performed Journey to the Center of the Earth at the Royal Festival Hall for the first time, it was very difficult in many ways because I did not have enough money from the record company to do what I wanted. So I literally borrowed money against my house, sold things in order to do the concert. And if the concert had not worked and people hadn't liked it, then I quite literally could have gone bankrupt. So, people around me, my friends, and that, they said, "You have to do this. You do have to do this. You believe in it so much." And I think that's the one thing that it taught more than anything else is to have belief in what you do. And David Bowie was the same. He said the same to me. Believe in what you do, and it'll be okay.
Were you now or in the future working in another project related to jazz with some jazz musicians?
I don't think so now. I mean, the last one, the Anderson Raven Wakeman band, ARW, I really enjoyed. I thought that was great. But then COVID struck and killed it stone dead because we had tours booked and we couldn't do them. So COVID killed it. John's gone off and doing what he wants to do. Trevor's doing more films. I'm doing what I want to do. I think it's very, 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 very unlikely that there will be a yes which involves myself.
So, Rick, that was basically my questions. So, if it's where to me, I will like talking to you for hours. But I think, yes, I enjoy
You're very
this.
kind, thank you.
Yes, just maybe I'm sure that you won't remember, but when you have the press conference there in La Habana, I made the first question.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And, yes, and I sent to the men from the record company a photograph with you and I.
Oh, wow.
Yes. I will try to send it. I tell the men that send it to Valerie.
Please do. That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Yes. Yes. So, thank you very much, Rick, for your time.
Thank you very much. It's been a great pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you very much for your music.
Bless you. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.